Hello everybody in the software engineering class, a CS401 class. In this lecture I'm going to go over assignment number 7, which is on a servlet. So if you navigate yourself over to the assignments folder, we're looking at assignment number 7. I did make some adjustments to make it easier for you and to clean it up and kind of provide some more clarification. So I just posted it this morning actually. So if you have an old copy of assignment number 7 downloaded, you might want to get the new copy of it that I'm going to show you in this video. So it's the same assignment, nothing changed. I just changed the wording, made it a little easier for you to understand how to work with it. Okay, but the assignment itself is identical. So I'm going to download it, make sure I'm getting the version that's on the website. And if I open it up, I get the software engineering programming assignment number 7, implementing a currency converter servlet. So I'm going to show you the example that I created, and I've actually shown you this example already. So I'm going to go through it one more time with you to show you how it relates to assignment number 7. So if you go into the examples folder, and you scroll yourself down to Servlet, and you go into the folder. There's some example servlets here, random, which is a good one, login servlet, session servlet. So show you a bunch of stuff about servlets. The one you really want to pay attention to is the one that's called Calculator. Calculator, I just clicked on it, is, actually here, I think I have it loaded already. I do. I have it loaded in Eclipse already. Calculator, I called it Calc Servlet, and it's probably repeated in the assignment number 6 instructions as well, is a servlet called Calculator, and it has a interface to it called interface.html. You might remember this from the video that I did on JSP, which would have been a recent video for me going over assignment number 6 for you. And it may have also been the one prior to that one. So the calculator servlet, let me refresh your memory on what this calculator servlet is doing. And the project is loaded, so download the code. If you download the code and you look in the folder for calculator, what you're going to see is in the source code folder, there's a calculator.java file. And then in the web content folder, there's a calculator.html file, which is the same one I'm going to show you a few minutes here that we renamed in one of the previous videos. So I didn't delete the files. I still have the files from a previous video that I did for you on assignment number 6 or on JSP that was showing you the calculator example. I'm going to show that to you, the same example one more time. So let's run it so you see what it looks like. So this one, I called it interface. You can call it anything you want. It's an HTML form. The HTML form has, okay, yeah, Node.js is not supported. That's fine. We just leave that one alone. Okay, we don't need Node.js. In here we have a form, and the form has an action that calls the calculator servlet. And it's using a method called get. We can actually change it to post, actually. And the name of the form is form. So let me just run this, actually. Let me save it. So the form has number 1 and has number 2. And then it has operators. This is just word wrapped. The operators can be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Let's do multiplication. And my screen is a little funny, so the fonts are bigger than my window. I probably could make it bigger. No, can't make it any bigger, but anyway. So we'll put a number in here. I'm going to call it 34. And let's just put 2 in here, select an operator, multiplication, and press submit. And I get the number 68 that shows up to the screen. And I think in our previous video, I changed the code for addition. So it prints out, hello, I'm addition, and then prints out 36. And 36 is 34 plus 2. So you can see the servlet is working. And let's take a look at the assignment, and then I'm going to go through the server code and show you how this example pretty much does the assignment for you. You're going to make some changes to this. So please feel free to download the Calculator.zip that is here, Calculator.zip, and use this pre-existing code. Make your own project out of it. Use the pre-existing code, or load this project in, I guess. And use it as a template to create your servlet that you're going to do for your currency conversion. So let's take a look at the assignment. The assignment, if I can find it, there it is. So your assignment is to implement a simple web service which lets users convert an amount from one currency to another. For example, from US to Euro. The interface should consist of two text fields, amount and rate. Well, let's go back to here for a second. Oops, let's just run it. I had it running, I probably should have left it. Two text fields, amount and rate. Okay, and then you can put your currencies in here. So instead of addition, subtraction, multiplication, you can put in here Euro, I don't know, franc, I don't think francs are around anymore, yen, you can put your currencies in there, dollar, US dollar. So you have the amount and the rate, and a submit button. Well, that's the submit button. That's the submit. Hello, I'm addition. Yeah, I didn't put any numbers in there. Well, you could change the button so it says convert instead of submit. So if you want to convert an amount from one currency to another, we input the amount in the amount field, in the text field, and we press the convert button. And then the service should reply with a new page, which this example is doing, which displays the results of the conversion. So this is the base functionality you're actually seeing here. So if I put in like 9 and 0, I'm getting a new page. This is the page that is being displayed with the results of the conversion. I guess you can get away with just one. You don't have to put the rate in here. You could just have one text field, get rid of number 2, and just have the rate like to US dollars or to something to convert it to. You don't actually need this second text field. You can ad-lib it a little bit, make it your own, and customize it. So optional features. So this is where I changed the assignment. I made this optional. So optionally, you don't have to do this part, but optionally the service should remember which exchange rate is used for the conversion. Initially 1.0. If the user wants to change the exchange rate, he inputs the new rate in the rate field, and then the amount to be converted in the amount field. And then the new rate should be remembered for future conversions when the rate field is left empty. So the servlet, the calculator, can actually store this value as a variable, and then it could populate it into the form if the form gets empty. If you want to tackle that, it is optional. I'm not going to require that you tackle this feature. If you take the web development class, you'll learn more about that. But if you want to venture into it now, then it's optional. Don't worry about implementing it. I also simplified the steps down here as well in the mini rewrite I did of this assignment. So make sure you download and you follow this one because it's a little easier. So you're going to have two files. You're going to give me, you can give me the whole project, just zip it and give it to me. Or you're going to give me Calculator.java, which is the servlet, and interface, or I don't know, assignment 7, whatever you want to call it, .html file. So let's talk about the calculator. You could use this as a template again. It is a working calculator that has two text fields. And so in the calculator, we're extending HTTP servlet. That's how we're making a servlet. And we have one method called doGet, which is implemented. It's overriding from inheritance on HTTP servlet. And we have a doPost. Well, the doPost is just running the doGet. No, you only have to implement one of them. You don't even have to put this in here either. But because I put post in the form, the post is doing the get. Before, a few minutes ago, remember I was playing around with the form and I changed this method to post. You should probably use post instead of get. If you write post, then in the servlet code, then post is going to run do post, which is going to send us to do get. Before, I just put get in here and send me to do get. If I wanted to, I could just take this code and stick it in the do post and do the opposite. So if we do put a do get in here, we could take this code here and put do post. So switch it around if you want. Or you can just leave it like this. It doesn't really matter. You only need one. In most cases, if you're writing an internet application, you're going to do both a do get and a do post. And if you do that, you're going to write the same code in each one of them, just in case the user uses the get versus the post. So the post adds a bit more security. The get sends everything in. They both accomplish the same task by sending information to the servlet. The post just is a little bit more secure. The get is plain text. But we're not running any security on this little Apache server that we're running in Eclipse. So security really isn't an issue. But for the most part, out in industry, you're probably going to be running the post more than the get, is what I'm saying. And if you do take a web development class, you'll learn the differences between post and get. They're HTTP protocols that are very common in all forms of web development. You can Google post and get and probably learn a little bit more as well. All right, so let's go back to the assignment. All right, so you're going to write a servlet in the file converter.java. So you're going to change the name of this calculator. You're going to call it converter.java. So when you do that, you're going to change it up here too. So the description here says calculator. Well, you can call it converter. If you can't figure out how to change it, just call it calculator. It doesn't really matter. So you should implement a do get method or a do post method. That's what I just showed you. You're going to implement one of the two of them. In the method, you're going to write code which produces an HTML page. Let the action attribute of the form tag have the value converter servlet converter, pointing out the servlet you are implementing, and let the method attribute have the value post. That's why I changed it to post. So what we're talking about here is that this form, I'm on the HTML right now, this form calculator, well, I could call it converter. The method is post. You can make it get if you wanted to as well. And the action calls calculator. So this is the action. It's calling this servlet calculator.java, which is calculator.class when it is compiled. So this is the action that's being talked about. This is the method that's being talked about. This is the form that you're going to edit to include the items that you'd like. So if you want to put, instead of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in the options selection, in the multiple selection box there, this guy here, you can put the currencies in there, and if you put the currencies in there, put one or two currencies if you want. And then you can get rid of one of the text boxes if you want, or have them both. It's no problem. So, and the form just does a submit. So really this HTML file just has this form in it. It's as simple as I could possibly give you. So you're going to create one of these that works for your currency conversion calculator. That's what number 3 is talking about. And you're going to give it the post method, and you're going to call the converter or the calculator, whatever you call it. So in the method that's in the servlet, you're going to write code that retrieves the values entered into the text fields and processes the information accordingly and produces the suitable HTML page as a reply. That's this behavior that's happening. This is the HTML page. Now, it's not a web development class. You don't have to put crap on the page. You can just simply write some stuff to the screen. So this code is actually written for you here to do, and I'm looking at the do get right now. Again, you can just take this code and put it in do post if you want to, and you still have to have the get to do get. The method still needs to be implemented, but it can be a blank implementation. So these are the lines of code. We're creating the string number 1, number 2, an operator, and this is how we're getting it from the form. It's requesting the get parameter text1, text2, an operator. Well, that is these parameters, text1, text2. And this is the operator. So it's getting the parameters from the form. And then this is Java code. If it equals addition, subtraction, multiplication, then we're going to parse the int for number 1 and we're going to add it to the parsed int for number 2. Or we're going to subtract number 1 from number 2, or we're going to multiply number 1 number 2. One of these I added something to the screen at the end, but we'll just see what happens here. So the do post is implemented in the Calculator.java file. In the Calculator.java file, we're getting the information. Here's where I put some other stuff. So in my output, I changed this in a previous video that I watched that hopefully you've watched already, where I've got out.println, hello, I'm addition. So this is how I'm getting stuff to print to the page. So if I select addition here in my calculator, I thought I had this thing running. I guess I closed it again. Let me run it one more time. And I'm going to select addition when I run it. I guess I closed the tab. So if I take 6, 5, and addition is selected, and I hit select, it says, hello, I'm addition. So that is a demonstration showing you how to get hello, I'm addition to the screen. And we're just using an out.println. The out.println is the out from print writer. So this is the method that you can use to create your HTML page. This, believe it or not, is an HTML page. It is the HTML page that is being run from Calculator by doing out. So that's what it's talking about. So in your method, write the code which retrieves the values entered into the text field, process the information accordingly, and produce a suitable HTML page as a result. You do not have to do any web development for this class. This is a suitable HTML page. So you could say something like, your $12 that you, $12 from US dollars converted to euro is equal to blah, 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 if you want. Have the output, and the idea is you're going to play around with the output. Yeah, and this is how you're doing the output. So play around with it to see if you can get the information printed to the screen. You don't have to do much. This is perfectly acceptable, maybe one sentence or so, and then the value of the converted amount. So this is just doing addition. It's not doing a currency conversion. Change it so it does a currency conversion. Use an attribute in the converter class to store the current exchange rate. Well, you're going to need to do that one if you're doing this part here. So if you're doing the optional feature, then you're going to need to store the current exchange rate. And so in here, you just keep an attribute going. So you can just say, you know, like say, I don't know, integer rate or something. And then rate down here if they select it, and maybe this is just the operator. You know, let's just say it's equal to value number 1, or let's just start it out with number 2, 0. And then in here you could just say, you know, well, you know, rate is equal to 1. And then this one would be rate is equal to 2. So they selected it, let's say. They selected, and this one, let's say, was euro. And so now the next time that the server is running, the instance of the object doesn't go away. So it's going to be set to 1. And then if you run it again without putting a rate in, it'll use, because rate is equal to 1, you could put like a little check in here. If the rate is equal to 1, you know, or use rate here and have 1 set to some dollar amount. You can implement this any way you want. But it's a variable. It's a variable that you're sticking into the servlets, into the converter class to store the current exchange rate. So you can pull that rate back out optionally if you implement this optional feature here, and use the last rate that you put in. Initially you could set it to 1 and then use the last rate over and over again if you want, without having to put in a new rate. So you're just setting you're setting a temp variable in the servlet object. And it's basically demonstrating the fact that once I run this servlet, this instance of the servlet is running, even though I'm going back and forth between the interface file and the servlet file. The servlet's still running, so it still has the history of what's going on. And so I'm not getting a new instance or a new run of it every time I run it. Every time I run it, I'm using the same existing instances out there. So if I change it, I still have the same object running. It's going to change the value, like it changed it to 13, and the output's different. But the instance of the object is the same instance of the object. So you can put stuff like this in here and keep track of what you're doing and how many times you've used this and what rate you're using and what rate did you use last time. And this is the power of Java. Basically, this is a running program that doesn't stop and start, stop and start. It just continues to run. So you can actually keep a counter and say, you know, how many times have I used it? You know, for example, if rate was 0 and here, let's just make a counter here, integer counter. And in the counter, let's just get rid of the rate here. I'm going to say, you know, integer counter, and I'm going to go counter plus plus. And then let's print out the counter. So I've got my counter going to be printed out. What do we got here? Counter. Initialize variable. Initialize the variable. And you know, in Java, you don't actually have to initialize the variable, but anyway, this Eclipse is wanting me to initialize this, so we'll initialize it. All right, so if we run it now, I just put it in the addition. So let me make sure I save it. Let's rerun the servlet. And you want to restart the servlet every time you do it. So, because what ends up happening is the old servlet value will be in there, and we'll be able to tell instantly if that's really the case. Restart the server. So this is what I'm talking about. You want to restart the server. You don't want to continue without restarting, because then you're going to get the old instance of the old compiled servlet that doesn't have the counter in there. So I have to select addition because that's where I put the code in. So we have 1, which is the counter value, and then we have the result. So I guess I could have put in like counter is equal to 1 in there, but anyway. So let's go back, and now I'm going to change the addition here. And now the counter should be 2, and it says 1. Let's see. Probably because I am hitting the back button is probably why that's happening. Let's just take a look here. Oh, okay. I don't really have to change the numbers. 1. My counter's not working. Let's just take a look here. Probably because the back button is doing it. Let's not restart the server. Let's do it this way. Let's go this way. Let me run it again without restarting it. Well, it didn't give me the option. 1. Well, all right. Bad example. My 1 is broken. I think it's my test environment that's causing this. But anyway, it's an optional feature. I'm not going to bother with it because I didn't prepare it ahead of time. So, long story short, you can keep data in here. It should. Let's see what's going on here. I have to change it outside here. which I didn't do. It's being changed in the addition. So I'd have to use a slightly different approach to this. It is going to increment it, but it only increments it per each call to it, and I'm using the same call to it, so it's not going to, and then I'm hitting the back button instead of calling up the server again. So the logic is a little screwy here. It's definitely not right. So yeah, don't do it this way. You have to, basically you have to change it well, I didn't do it that way. I'd have to put it out here. It's per instance call, so I'd have to stick it out here at the class level. There we go. I have to move it out here and make it more visible. Get rid of this one here. So now it's a member of the object and not from a call from an instance. So actually now I'm kind of curious if this will actually fix it. If not, oops, don't want to do a save as. Well, if it doesn't fix it, I'll let you guys fix it. It should maintain the logic now. So let's see. Let's just make sure I saved it properly. File. Okay, we're good. We're saved. Let's just run her one more time. I gotta restart the servlet. All right. I don't know if my logic is correct on here either. So 5 and 5 addition 1. Let's see. Hit that back button again, which I don't really think is appropriate. 2. Okay, let's see. 3. So it's not the back button problem. 4. It was the scope of that variable. 5. So now you see it's working. 6. 7. So I don't think I need to go any further. 8. I'm gonna stop there. So yeah, the problem that I had was the visibility of that variable was in the do-get. And so when I was running the do-get, it was resetting itself for each do-get call. This is a class level. It's at the object calculator. It's outside. So the scope of it is visible for all of the methods. And so when I'm implementing it here, I'm incrementing it, and the value is being visible for all instances of all objects going to do-get. And the back button is not being the back button isn't actually I could put it with no values and it still increments. So the back button isn't really causing it. It should all it works with the back button. So there's your counter. So you could keep that memory in there instead of using a counter. I demonstrated this because you could actually keep the last currency conversion. You can keep track of what happened. Make sure you do it at the class as a class variable, class field, not as a method. If you put it in here, you hide the scope of it so it doesn't get incremented for everybody. So, but you can increment the counter in here. So in here you can take the rate and add it to the, just instead of counter, call it rate. And then down here in the code, make the rate equal to this. And so the next time you call it, the object knows about what rate was last used. So that basically is the optional feature that you can implement if you'd like. So go ahead, play around with it, make it your own, change the theme. You're more than welcome to use the calculator source code. You do not have to reinvent this. You can use this as a template. This is not a web development class, so I'm not expecting an elaborate web page coming out of it. Something as simple as this is perfect. So the purpose of this assignment is to give you a little exposure in terms of how servlets work and how the Java source code works inside of the servlet and how it's called from an HTML form. But this is not a web development class, so you do not have to worry about doing all this stuff from scratch. If you do have any questions about the assignment, please feel free to contact me. Otherwise, this assignment is due next week. I believe, yes, next week, which is the last week of class. So it's not a bad idea to start working on it. You can use any currency you want. You don't actually have to do that many of them, maybe one as a minimum if you'd like. Have fun with this assignment. You can ad-lib it, you can put anything you want in there, do anything you want with it, but these are the basic core requirements. So thanks for watching the video, and good luck completing the assignment. It should be fairly straightforward at this point. So thanks for watching.